Let's talk about what everybody in the legacy media wants to talk about. Black quarterbacks. There are 16 of them starting this year in the NFL. I say this without an ounce of sarcasm. I'm not trying to troll anybody. This isn't something that I want to talk about. It's this whole black quarterback discussion. When I was a little kid, it was a big deal that James Harris was the starting quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams. This is in the early 1970s. James Harris being the Rams quarterback. Part of the reason I fell in love with the Rams, I loved their helmets. I loved Lawrence McCutcheon. I loved Jack Youngblood. I think I probably told the story on this show that one summer out of school, I wore my number 85 Jack Youngblood jersey for 17 straight days. It was filthy. It was awful. It sort of a reflection. I was kind of poor, but I'm just telling you, I love the Rams and I love Jack Youngblood and I wanted to play like Jack Youngblood. And part of the big reason they had this black quarterback, James Harris. But it's not the 1970s anymore. It's 2025. Black quarterbacks are in high school, they're in college, they're in Pee Wee, they've been in the NFL forever. This whole black quarterback, oh, the league is racist and no one wants a black quarterback. That thing ended 20 years ago, maybe longer. Warren Moon is probably the last guy that blew up the whole deal. And when Doug Williams won the Super Bowl, it's over. But the media won't let us move on. And so Anscape and everybody else loves to write these stories. And last week they wrote one about the 16 starting black quarterbacks. And they quoted Jalen Hurts in the article. This is Bill Rhoden, who's past his time as a sports writer and, has one grift, and that's talking about the hardships that these black quarterbacks face, and somehow Jalen Hurts is facing one of these hardships. He's not getting enough respect. So Hurts begins a new season. I'm quoting from his Anscape article. So Hurts begins a new season with a sense of mission. He will likely always play with a chip on his shoulder. Will play on behalf of those who never had the opportunity to play quarterback and the early black pioneers who were marginalized and underestimated. He is a part of an evolution that has led to 50% of starting quarterbacks being African Americans. This is not something he takes lightly. Indeed, it is the source of his inspiration. Quote from Jalen Hurts. It's definitely something that you can't take for granted, and you can't forget nor lose sight of the journey of how you got there. I know for me, it was not an easy journey getting to where I am and getting to this point. It's something that's always in the back of my mind when I go out there. And so we're supposed to be led to believe that for white quarterbacks, they just roll out the red carpet and it's easy. Last night, it was so easy for J.J. McCarthy, and it was so hard for Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams was fighting all that anti-black racism from the 1960s and 70s when he was out there last night. 2 years ago, he was the number 1 overall draft pick. I think that's a lot of respect when they draft you number 1 overall. I think that's an organization that has a black team president, a black general manager, and a black head coach. They're not facing any resistance. They keep shoving this argument, this discussion down our throat to create a backlash to where some people, well-intentioned, that would have no problem with Caleb Williams, no problem with any Jalen Hurts, any of these guys, but because Bill Rhoden, the rest of the media, and I'm going to let Jalen Hurts off the hook a little bit, because when these racial idolaters come and ask you this question, what's Jalen Hurts supposed to say? If he goes anywhere near the truth, I'm like, man, I ain't even thinking about that. They paying me like $50 million a year. I got life licked. This is what a joy this is. No one's rooting against me at $50 million a year. If he said that and Bill Rhoden quoted him on that, then he'd face the backlash. How dare he say he's not a victim? He's a $50 million victim. Remember when Bill Rhoden put out the book, $40 million Slaves, or whatever it was? I think it was called $40 million Slaves. He needs to put out a book now called $50 million a year Victims. That's what they keep trying to turn all these black quarterbacks into, and it's off-putting to everybody else. And so since they want to do it, let's go ahead and keep the receipts and say black quarterbacks fell to 5-11 last night when Caleb Williams lost. I doubt that trend will continue because didn't Patrick Mahomes lost week one? Some other really good quarterbacks lost. Lamar Jackson lost week one. Michael Penix played a hell of a game and lost. Dak Prescott was off the chains and lost. But the winners were Jalen Hurts, Geno Smith, Kyler Murray, Jordan Love, and Jaden Daniels. 5-11. TJ Moe, welcome back to the show. Am I right that the media's constant centering, frontlining, shoving it down our face at this point is actually making well-intentioned people be like, well, I'm actually rooting against Lamar Jackson and these guys because I'm tired of this. Because if a black quarterback goes to the Super Bowl this year, there will be a story. This is the 13th black quarterback to make it to the Super Bowl. This is history. I don't want to read it. I don't want to hear it. I'm tired of it. Is it affecting you or anyone else in the same way?
Rooting against black quarterbacks. I will be the first to tell you. I am rooting against black quarterbacks. There are exceptions. I
hate to put you in that position.
Yeah,
I hate to put you in that.
I'm happy to put
but
myself
it is
in
true.
Whatever. Yeah. I love Pat Mahomes. I root for him. And that's personality. I actually think Lamar has lost enough that there's some texture in a story that I'm interested in. I kind of hope that he wins now. Plus, he retweeted Charlie Kirk this past week saying, tell somebody about Jesus. And so I'm on board with anybody who wants to tell people about Jesus. Let me tell you where some of this exhaustion comes from. Let me give you a history lesson of somebody who, probably your average white kid in America, who started first paying attention to the NFL in the mid-90s. That was me. I'm 34 years old. My first memories of the Rams, my dad had season tickets, and we started going to games when they came here in 1995. Okay? Do you know who the starting quarterback was in 1998? Tony Banks, black quarterback. That's the first quarterback I remember. A black quarterback. We're talking 30 years ago.
He was awful.
He was awful, but he was a second-round pick out of Michigan State, and it's, the Rams went 4-12 with him. I remember the whole thing. But that's what the average white guy in America remembers. Like in 2005, there were 6 starting quarterbacks, and these are household names. You had Donovan McNabb, you had Cordell Stewart, you had Steve McNair, Michael Vick, Dante Culpepper. Like, we've never thought. The Warren Moon narrative doesn't exist to 35-year-olds. We didn't live that world. And everybody's pretending we're still living in that world. So when you have somebody like me who's like, yeah, it's great. I just love the Rams. And, Tony Banks is horrible. We'd rather have Kurt Warner. But go Rams in 1998 when Tony Banks is the quarterback. And now all I hear every day is, this is the first black quarterback to fart in this McDonald's on September 9th. I just don't care. That is the reality of what they're teaching us. And we're living that all while having Issa Rae, who gets to go out there and say, I'm rooting for everything black. This is the 2017 Oscars or whatever it was. I'm rooting for everything black. And alongside that, if white people win too much, it's Oscars so white, trending on a hashtag. And so white people are like, you can't celebrate anything white. In fact, if there are too many white anything, we have to put a stop to it. But we're rooting for everything black, and we have to celebrate the first black everything, or just black anything. Black businesses, black CEOs, black quarterbacks, black history, black pride, black dining. And it's like we're so overwhelmed with black everything. Guess what? We're rooting against it now, and it's the fault of the media.
What's so weird, and, I'm 58, TJ's 34, but as I just unpacked for you, like James Harris Shaq Harris was my introduction into football and being a Rams fan. And it was a big part of me becoming a football fan and a Rams fan. And now here I am some 45 years later, and I'm on the opposite side of that. And I'm someone that's like, I'm so worn out and so tired that it's like, no, let me go ahead and root for Josh Allen. and I like Lamar Jackson. Most of what Lamar Jackson does, I really respect the way he handled the criticism early in his career and just put his head down and went to work. The way he's proven everybody wrong about him as a quarterback, respect it. He's done it his way. But I'm so tired of this narrative. I'm so tired of these people promoting this racism. They won't let it go. And so they are creating the backlash. They are creating the atmosphere of making people lean into tribalism. The media is doing this. Bill Rhoden is doing this. And he's doing it for his own little individual greed and survival. Help us grow the Fearless Army. Pound that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with all your fearless friends.